Hello lovely people, how are you all doing today? I do hope you are well. I'm sitting in my front window getting a little bit of warmth. We're gonna have occasional cars, never mind. Just lapping up a little bit of this. It's right at the end of September for me, this late September sunshine, gorgeous. But by the time you see this, it's going to be, just look at my pinboard, it's going to be pretty much 6 months, Regal Bottom, 6 months since I moved in. Where did that time go? That's just crazy to me. It feels like, weirdly, it feels on the one hand like it was 2 minutes ago, but on the other hand, it feels like I've always been here. It's lovely. So, you'll know that I popped a little notice on the YouTube community section recently to say, I'm going to do a Q&A. So that's what this is. You sent your questions in. Thank you so much, so many questions. I was originally going to write them all out in different categories, health, work, the garden, etc. But why make more work for myself? So I'm sitting here next to the computer with all your questions. I'm just going to go through them in, is it in newest order or reverse order? It's sort of reverse order. So I'm just going to plough on. We'll see how far we get. So the first one is from Susan. How much food were you able to grow in your front garden? I know you said it was a small space. Well, I had all sorts out there, including brassicas, chard, some beans and some tomatoes, but I had some sort of infestation. It looked like some sort of flea beetle or something, but the brassicas were massacred, the beans were mean, the chard, so all of them pretty much got massacred apart from my tomatoes, which I just had, hold on, taking layers off now. Yeah, there were 3 spare tomato plants which went out there, which have been fantastically productive. I nipped them out at the top at 6 trusses, like the ones in the back garden, but then I had to bring them down a bit lower because the window cleaner came around and couldn't get to my windows, so that's fine. But they've been really productive. Still haven't done my final weigh in for the tomatoes, but I will do. So yeah, that was all I had in the front garden this year, and from next year it will just be flowers, I think. There might be the odd tomato, but mainly flowers. So Ember Absalom, my scintillating question is, what's the brand model name of your iron? It's a Polti, Polti, and it was recommended to me by Lee. Thank you, Lee. And I've got that pattern you sent to me that I'm going to get framed to have in here. It's absolutely brilliant. It just makes, I've always enjoyed ironing. I love pressing fabrics when I'm on a sewing mission or whatever, but it just makes it such a joy. The steam is great. Well worth every penny. Wasn't cheap, but it's well worth every penny. Dana said, so I think someone else must have asked about this. Why are you the person in charge of the building? Is this common in the area you live in? These questions are going to go all over the place. It's nothing to do with the area I live in. It's to do with the fact that many properties in the UK, you'll have a plot of land and lots of properties are built on it. Imagine a big tall block of flats with 100 flats in it. Or a house like mine, which was originally a house, but it's been split into 3 flats. So when you have shared things like we have a shared roof, we have shared drains, who's going to look after it? How do you divide that work up? Who's going to be responsible? So essentially, the responsibility falls to the freeholder and the freeholder. The freeholder is the person who owns the land. And then, you know, imagine a block of 100 flats in one tower block. There'll be the freeholder, and usually they'll have a management company to look after it because it's a lot to look after. But you can't have, say, one flat in the block deciding to put a new roof on. it's got to be done collectively, etc., etc. Likewise, you can't just have the top floor flat responsible for the roof, because the roof ultimately affects everybody. So it's just a way of, it's just a way it is in the UK. We have leasehold properties and we have freehold properties. Flats are almost always leasehold. It just happens that this flat came with the freehold, and because I'm the freeholder, it's up to me to organise the work. But it should be paid equally between the three of us. It's just I have to organise it. Plus, the other owners don't live here. So one of the owners doesn't live in Swanage. How's he even gonna know that work needs doing? So that's why I am organising things. Oh, so Anita didn't have a question, but she was just saying nice things about watching the channel. Helen, my question is relatively random, but one of craft. That's not random. We love craft here. Recently taken up knitting as my first grandson is due in December. Yay! Also considering purchasing a sewing machine, but unsure of the model and make and whether it's easy to teach myself or not. Would you say it's relatively easy to learn? Yes. I have a Genome sewing machine. I think they're really user-friendly. Mine is a fairly basic model. There's only about 20 different stitches it does. You can go really, really complex, but I would say, yeah, I think learning to use a sewing machine is really easy. It just takes practice. So, you know, start with easy projects with straight lines. The basics are really quick and easy to get. And it's just a matter of time then, and building your confidence with your projects and getting a little bit more complicated as time goes on. Just, yeah, give it a go, do it. I'm pretty much self-taught. My grandma had a sewing machine, my mum had a sewing machine, so I grew up seeing my relatives sewing on machines. I was probably given a very quick lesson when I was really little. I don't remember a lesson specifically, but otherwise for me it's just been a case of, when I was in my 20s, I wanted to make my own clothes because trousers were never long enough, for example. So it's a really good way to learn. If you've got a really good goal, as in I want to make stuff, that gives you the impetus to get on the machine and practice and have a go and learn. Yes, it's easy, have a go. Anita Turvey said, would you like to act again one day, maybe in local theatre, should you miraculously manage to find the time? No, I think it's the thing about acting is it's really, really hard work. You spend a lot of time trying to get work and going to auditions, endless auditions, and there are expenses involved. You know, having your 10x8 photographs produced, that costs money. And then so much, so I was a theatre actor rather than TV or film, and so much of that involves being on the road, touring, which again is exhausting, and I missed home so much. I quit for a reason. I quit because I was sick of being on the road and living out of suitcases. So it's an incredibly hard profession to earn a living from. You have to work really hard. It's a more than full-time job. So you're sort of more than full-time trying to find acting work, but at the same time working full-time hours with a temp agency just to keep the money coming in until the next acting job comes in. And, you know, the thought again of starting again and having to try and find an agent again, because I think it took me about 3 years to get an agent. So, yeah, it's a really, really, really tough job to work in. It's tough to find the work, and it takes years, you know, building up contacts. And besides, around here, I mean, it would be the vast amount of auditions, they're held in London, sometimes Manchester. It would cost me a fortune going backwards and forwards to London to go for auditions. You know, it's 50 quid round trip for an audition where I might not even get the job. No. Would I like to act again, apart from all that practical stuff? No, I'm fine. I like my life as it is. I quite often read aloud to myself. I read aloud. I sometimes have a play text and I'll read it aloud, so I still get to perform, but just for an audience of me. Second chance, I can't read your moniker, second chance. Have you made any new friends? And have you had any visitors of the four-legged variety, like, sweet Rosie visiting my allotment? Okay, I'll answer that bit first. My neighbour that way has a cat and he sometimes comes to my garden. He's jumped through my front window once and had a cuddle. So he sometimes comes to visit, not often. My other neighbours have got a dog, so we get to have cuddles. Sometimes when I'm crossing them on the street, I get to have a cuddle with the dog. Have I made any new friends? Well, I've made lots of new acquaintances. I wouldn't say friends. I kind of referred to that in my video when Kate was here, that when it comes to friends, real friends, it's a tiny, tiny, tiny core of people, count them on one hand really, of people that I trust enough and call friend. But I have lots of acquaintances, so there's probably now dozens, I'd say maybe at least 20 people that I know by their first name, that I say hello to, that I stop and have a chat with. So I get to have lots and lots of chats, but there's no one around here who I would yet say, and maybe there never will be, someone who I would open my heart up to and you know, tell them my best day, tell them my worst day. But that's okay, because I have friends from before for that. And carrying on from all the pets around, Donna said, will you be getting a pet? No. I love animals, I do, and I've always had rescues, and I love dogs. I love dogs so much, but do I want to commit to going for a walk every morning at 6:30 and going for a walk every afternoon at 2 o'clock and going for a walk every evening at 7, 8 o'clock? Again, do I want to get into that level of commitment? I'm not sure that I do. Plus the expense. I mean, I feed myself. Do I have enough money to feed another mouth? Not really. Certainly don't have the money for insurance and veterinary bills and all that kind of thing. So yeah, I think not. I know lots of people have suggested cat. Sorry, I just washed my hair. That's why my hair's probably looking really dark today. It's just washed. Folk have suggested a cat. And look, I was just saying about Rosie on the allotment. I adored that sweet, darling girl. And of course, you know, Poppy. And it was Poppy. Poppy was my uber favourite. Poppy was Rosie's mum. You know, Poppy had my heart, and of course Rusty, and then there was that lovely feral that came for a year or so. They were really, really sweet, but ultimately I'm not a cat person. I will cuddle a cat, I will pet a cat when it's in my lap, but they don't make my heart go all fluttery like a dog does. So, you know, you watch, in a year's time there'll be 10 cats in the house. I don't like them climbing on the surfaces. I don't want, you see, dogs don't jump onto the kitchen counter. I don't want cats on the kitchen counter. It gives me the ick. Cherry Pie said, I want to ask, were you pleasantly surprised to discover your garden was bigger than you originally thought? Yes! Heckity, yes I was. The whole flat and garden, when I came back on my move-in day, I hadn't seen it for 6 months, other than I kept looking at the pictures online. Everything seemed bigger than I remembered. And I was talking, I've got my cousins down at the moment. That's why my bedding's over there. Yeah, my cousin and his wife they're down at the moment. They've just gone for a walk. And I was saying how I think it's a kind of a, always a saying with Richard and Paul, I think it was a self-protection mechanism that as time went on with my sale, and it was just seemed to be getting harder and harder, and more obstacles, I think what I'd done in my mind was I'd shrunk this place down in order that if the sale didn't happen, to sort of mitigate some of the disappointment. It was almost like I was trying to convince myself to fall out of love with it in case it didn't come off. So yeah, when I got here, it was so much bigger. And the garden, yeah, what a fantastic surprise. It's now measured. I'll do that in another video. Very pleasantly surprised, cherry pie, thank you. Hey Suze said, can't believe it's been that long since you moved. Me either, babe. Babe, I don't know, sorry, I just went a bit London then. I think, have I just read the word London somewhere? What is the thing you most miss having left behind in the move? Whether you had to or just didn't think you would need it. So in other words, I think what you're saying is, did I leave something behind because I thought I might not need it, or I just had to leave it behind, I couldn't bring it with me, or whatever? There's nothing really, apart from some of the gardening stuff, the Enviromesh net tunnels. I didn't have anywhere to stash them in my flat, so it looks like I'm now going to have to start buying a few bits and bobs for the garden, but not really much. The only thing that I miss leaving behind is my bathtub. Still just really missing a bath. But no, you know, I planned everything really carefully. I know my needs, my life, my routine. Obviously my life has changed so much since leaving work, but I've really kind of got to know myself and my life in the last few years. I know what my needs are, and I made sure I was going to be able to cover my needs after the move. So, no, don't miss anything that I had to leave behind. 2 questions from Antonia Parsons. You're naughty, Antonia, doing 2 questions. Oh my goodness. Right. 1, what makes you the happiest? 2, do you still use Wild deodorant since Unilever purchased the company? Right, let's do the second part first. I'm still using Wild because I was gifted some, and also I used to buy it when it was on offer to make it cheaper. So if it was 3 for 2, I might get 6, so it's 6 for the price of 4. And they're going to keep me going, I think, until the end of December. Yeah, I think till the end of December. And the lovely Jane, Shoestring Jane, had mentioned a couple of other brands to me, other makes, which I've been looking into. I'll talk about this more at the time because I haven't purchased yet. But I have got my next supplier lined up, and they're over there on the Isle of Wight. So, yeah, you're absolutely right to question that. I will absolutely not be spending a single penny with Unilever. And when I so I've got 2 options, and when I actually finalise it, I'll let you know on that one. First question, what makes you the happiest? Are you kidding me? How long have we got? Well, it depends what day you ask me. What makes me happiest? Warmth, heat, sunshine. They make me really happy. Spending time with friends and loved ones, that makes me really happy. When the sea is really, really, really blue, because I look at the sea every morning, that makes me happy. A bag of chips with tons of salt and vinegar on makes me happy. Books make me happy. Views can make me happy. You know, can't answer the question, Antonia, sorry. I think what it boils down to is, I think I'm a glass half full girl anyway, and wherever I'm at, whatever I'm doing, I try to find the way to be happy in that moment or in that circumstance. So, you know, the first tomato of the season, that makes me really happy. Thinking that a plant hasn't produced a squash, and then as the leaves start to die back in autumn, you see a squash that you hadn't realised was there. That makes me happy. A surprise squash harvest. Playing with a dog makes me happy. Bobbing in the ocean makes me happy. A lot of stuff makes me happy. there's way more stuff makes me happy than makes me sad. It would be easy to ask me what makes me sad. I don't want to do that because I don't want to think about what makes me sad. Marilyn. Oh, okay, so she said, I wonder how you're getting on with upstairs neighbours and sound. Really good question. So what's really pleasing is I can't hear my either side neighbours at all. The walls are so thick, not a peep. It's amazing. It was the one thing I worried about slightly. The thought of hearing someone watching EastEnders or Coronation Street, the thought of hearing those two TV theme tunes, if you're not British, they are two soap operas, and both of their theme tunes set my teeth on edge. So no, don't hear a peep from them. Upstairs is the one immediately above me. It's an Airbnb. During the school holidays in the summer, it was very busy. There was one family that were really loud and annoying, but generally it's not been an issue because people come here, they're out all day, they're out and about exploring and doing stuff, and generally they just come back in the evening to sleep. You know, people eat out, they're out all the time. Out of season, so out of the 6 weeks of the summer holiday, it's weekends, and it's people who are coming down for either a festival or they're coming for a walking, cycling, swimming, whatever weekend. So again, they're out first thing in the morning, and then sometimes if I'm sitting here working, I see them coming back at 7, 8 in the evening. They come back in for 5 minutes and they're out again to go and find a restaurant to eat in. So apart from that one hideous, really hideous family in the summer, it's not been an issue. Right now, not a peep, not a peep. The week when my friend Kate was here, she kept sort of going quiet, going, there is literally no sound. It's just completely quiet. So, and mostly, even when I'm in my garden, apart from my neighbour, it seems like her cough has cleared up now. I'm very happy to report. Emma Wilson, hi Vivi, what if anything are you doing to prepare for the winter months? Well, not really anything. I mean, obviously I'm getting the windows seen to. I suppose that's my biggest prep, is getting the windows, getting changed to double glazing. But I don't know that in any year, whether you'd ask me here or in London, whether I would say I ever do anything to prepare for the next season that's coming. Just let it come. I mean, the garden will need a bit of a tidy up. I need to put some new crops in to overwinter. So maybe a little bit of garden prep, but otherwise, just let the season come. Whether I prepare for winter or not, winter will come. Don't like winter. Let's not think about winter anymore. Sorry, Emma. Yeah, I don't do anything to prepare. Just hopefully once I get windows, it'll be better. Is that Michelle? Michelle from the US. Okay, so she was asking about organising repairs for the entire building. They're not tenants, they're owners. There's a difference between a tenant and an owner. Do they have to chip in to help cover the cost? Yes. We all have a vested interest, so we all need to pay to maintain the building. It's just I have to organise it all. It's a bit of a pain in the backside, but yeah, they will have to chip in. Bobby Joe says, I'm curious about your interest in wild swimming. Could you please explain the attraction or ethos for wild swimming? I'm not a water person, so I'm fascinated by those who are. I mean, right from when I was a baby, this was home from home, being down in Swanage. So right from the earliest memory, we were in and out of the sea all day long. So we were taught to swim really young, had swimming lessons, for years had swimming lessons, and it's one of the best gifts you can give your children is to teach them to swim. It's a life-saving gift. So yeah, I've just always been in and out of the water here, and just love it. It's relaxing, it's playful. You know, I see a body of water and my first thought is, I want to get in. And I don't think I can explain why. Just that it's both a visceral and an emotional response of, it's just right. I just love it. And I can't explain it. It's just me. I love it. You say you're not a water person. That to me is anathema. So I almost want to throw the question back to you. Why are you not a water person? How can you not be a water person? We're made of water. So yeah, that's so weird to me. And I guess that's why your question is to me. It's weird to you that, why do you want to get in the water? I can't explain it. I really can't. Can anyone? Can you explain why you love something? Yeah, so sorry, I'm being a bit useless with some of these questions. What makes you happy and why do you love wild swimming? Sorry, can't answer. I just do. It's interesting. I'm going to be thinking on that. I'm going to be thinking on that for the rest of the day because I really struggle to explain it. Okay, I'm going to move on because otherwise we're stuck. Okay, Beth said, how do you cope with your dyspraxia? Has it got worse the older you get? I don't think it's got worse. I think it's more the fact that as my mobility has gotten a bit poorer and because everything's a bit stiffer, as much as I do my physio and I work at it, everything is stiffer than, say, when I was 30 or even when I was, 40 or even 50, it's stiffer now. And so the effect that has is, let's say 10 years ago, before I was quite so stiff, if I stumble, if I'm going to have one of my falling episodes, if I stumble, my body is quick enough to, as I stumble, to correct myself and stay upright. I can put, as I go to stumble, I put my right leg out to brace myself and hold myself up. But it's almost like my body reacts more slowly now to a stumble, and it's harder to get out of the stumble, which is why, since I've been here, I've had 3 falls, which is ridiculous, where I've tripped and I've not been able to save myself. So I think has it got worse as you got older? That aspect of it has definitely got worse. It's harder to save myself now than it used to be. So how do I cope with that? Well, just try to be careful and so often it's about being in the moment. So for example, if I'm going into the garden, when I'm in the garden, I'm there with purpose and mindfulness, and I'm really, really, really aware of that patio and how treacherous it is, and it's just waiting to bite me and have me over. So just trying to be more mindful, but honestly, I don't think I've ever had a coping mechanism with my dyspraxia. So you can see as you come out of the living room, the hall it's off to the left. That wall, that end bit of wall, I've walked into that bit of wall so many times since moving in. So many times. I just don't get over far enough to go down the hall. How do I cope with that? Well, apparently I don't. I just keep repeating the same thing, walking into the wall, or at least one of my feet will catch on the edge of it. So that's probably another useless answer, isn't it? That I don't have any coping mechanisms other than just trying to be careful and try not to rush, try to be mindful of my environment. And say with the patio, obviously the best way to cope with that is to get the patio up, levelled, with a new patio on top that's smooth and level. But I can be walking, I've always joked about this, I can be walking in a straight line on a perfectly smooth surface and end up falling over. That's who I am. Right, that's a little alarm telling me that I've been talking for long enough. So I'm going to wrap up, but there's still tons and tons of questions. So I'm going to do a part 2, and there might even be a part 3. Okay, let's quickly slot one more in because I can see what it is. The Thrive to Be Better says, I know the camera angles are deceiving. I'm just curious about the actual size of your garden, length by width, foot by foot. Is it bigger than I imagined? Okay, so I'm not going to answer that just now because my notes are somewhere else, but just to let you know that I am going to be talking about the actual size. I'm going to do it in meters and in feet, so everyone, and I'll do the square as well. Was there something else? Yeah, wanting to know about the size and therefore, you know, how much I can fit in. So I'll cover that properly in a separate video. So this is also a quickie, so I'll stop this one in. Will I be going to the local short film festival? Hold on a second. Oh, creak, crunch, knees. That's only because I've been sitting still chatting to you for half an hour. You bet your bottom dollar I will. We've got a new patron this year as well. So Mark Rylance has always been a patron, but now he's been joined by Sam Mendes. Sam Mendes and Mark Rylance together on this as well. But yes, I haven't started marking up my copy yet, but I'll go through, look at the films that I want to see if it's worth me buying an Explorer ticket or whether, you know, I'm only going to go and see a couple because it's, you know, it's not, by the time you've done the ticket and the bus fare, because the venues are all over. There are pop-up venues, so things like village halls, scout huts, a tent, a church hall, a church. So it's the whole idea behind the festival is that we should, I think the BFI, the British Film Institute, also support it. I think they reckon it's the biggest indie film festival outside of London. The idea being that just because we live in a rural area with these disparate little villages dotted around doesn't mean that we shouldn't get the best of independent cinema. So there's masses. I think there's about 80 films. There are talks. I know the Fox family are hosting an evening of chat. So Edward Fox, James Fox, Joanna Davis and Freddie Fox, they're doing a talk. I won't go to that. I'm going to go through, mark up the bits I want to see and work out, because some of them will be in Swanage. It might be that I stay in Swanage. I think there's one that's showing in the Scout Hut up in Langton. So, yay. And the other thing I thought about doing is I could go on Facebook to see if anyone else is going to the further away ones from Swanage to say, do you want to do a car share? Some of them are accessible by bus, but some of them I wouldn't be able to access unless I was in a car share. So that's another option. But yay! Thank you. That was from Sandra Bryan. Okay, so I'm going to sign off for this one, but I'm going to carry on. My cousin's still out, and yeah, I think I'll try and make part 2 straight away. So that's part 1 done for now. I'll see you really soon for part 2. Until then, look after yourselves and cheerio. Ta-ra!